damn it. You're supposed to remind me.
I forget myself. That's the problem. I'm not a good.
We needed a third reminder.
Yeah, we need a better person than me for sure.
Damn it! So what was it when we came back in the first place? So I haven't been recording.
Yes.
Ever since we came back.
Yes.
Shit. Well, at least we got some of it.
We got some of it. You got my only emotional, angry reaction to anything so far.
All right, good. Well, yeah, maybe even better that we only got a smaller clip. It would have been nicer to get more, but maybe it's better so we don't look like we're jacking the whole show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So yeah, I understand their points, but unfortunately, what happens usually is that the two larger parties absorb third-party movements into their structure. A good example is the Green Party. When the Green Party has decent candidates, they move into the Democratic wing of the environmental Democratic wing of that party because it's a better fit and they can achieve their goals that way. Libertarians are the same way. For as far as I'm concerned, libertarians are the AA league for baseball. They're what's the farm league for Republican candidates.
Sure.
So I mean the thing that you have to be focused on, in my opinion, after years of work, is trying to move the window to something that you like. The Overton window, and if it's further left, it's further left. If it's further right, it's further right. I'm not arguing that point. What I'm trying to say is that it does, like they were saying, it takes work. It does take work, but the parties are not we have a duopoly. That's true, but the parties are not the same. They're not the same at all.
Yeah, well, no, I don't think anyone's arguing that, and I think any argument of the parties being the same is, what they call one of those straw man or red herring arguments. I just don't think it's not worth litigating that fact.
Right.
I think what they are saying is that they're not distinct enough, or as they should be, and that this whole voting for the lesser of two evils hasn't brought us as far as it should. So when that young, smart man, Ed, was laughing at, $15 an hour, or saying like, so what have the Democrats, done? And he's like, do you think that's enough? Yeah, he's not saying they're the same. We acknowledge that one side is fine with $7 an hour. The other side fought for $15 an hour, and we're still left with poverty wages. So, as Ish always says, what are we doing here? So it's not saying that they're the same, that they're not good enough, and that we need a viable alternative. And I think when we get into the arguments of a Stanley or someone who's going to bring us to some kind of solution, what we're going to have to do is keep organizing, keep building, keep fusion voting, and keep working on it until the Working Families Party is a viable solution. In the meantime, we've got to push left candidates further to the left, and we've got to be, the left flank of the Democratic Party.
Right.
And that's what we've got to do. But what we can't do is simply say, get the one guy out of office, and then, like Ice Cube was saying today, and then what? And then what do we do?
No. There is plans for pushing. What happens after he gets out of office? There is plans, and I'm not talking sinister plans. They're just plans for the things that we want. The economic structure, the reforming criminal justice. There is definitely plans. Biden is nothing but a kind of a wonky worrywart about these type of things. So he does have plans in place now. But honestly, the first thing is to have a fair election. That's our first goal. And the Democrats in office right now better fight hard as hell to get that fair election.
Yeah. Yeah, well, no, that's true. They're doing everything they can
You know,
tear it apart.
I'm not for revolution at all, because honestly, I've been through a revolution and lost a quarter of my family to jail or
Yeah,
death.
but I mean, who's talking about a revolution?
The young girl with the bobs, I forget her name. It was Sunny, I believe. Sammy.
How did she talk about revolution?
She says there was an entire point where they asked her, "Are you ready for the revolution?" She says, "I'm an e-girl. I'm this. I'm that. I don't know how to fire a gun, but I know plenty of people that are already living the revolution." So she said it more than once.
Well, they kept asking her about it. I mean, the word is like, listen, you lived through an actual revolution, Raul.
Yes.
These people are talking about revolutionary ideas, right?
Okay.
She's comparing the protests that we had in the streets to a revolution. Does that sound like a revolution to you?
No.
Does that sound like what your folks went through?
No.
So let's not put words in like people's mouths
I'm
because they
not.
kept.
I'm not.
Well, not. I'm not aiming that just at you because they kept doing it too,
Right.
right? They kept feeding her that. Are you ready for a revolution? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for that? And she's like, yeah, well, I'm an e-girl. Like, our people were in the streets, blah, blah, blah. That's like, okay. Yeah, they pushed her to that question. And, like, yeah, I mean, Bernie had a group called Our Revolution. And then when
Yeah.
Bernie was asked about it, he said, no, we're not we're not ready for a revolution. So like people throw that word around. Um, let's not be too literal for that word.
I would really rather not, because I'm afraid that Americans, and the thing is that one thing I have to tell you is that the right wants it. The right wants that conflict. A lot of the people that are near me for physically are just waiting for the day that somebody declares a revolution and it's a hunting season. For
You can't just like say, hey guys, it's a revolution, and then whatever. Like we can't even get people to stop using Amazon when this
Yes.
guy's like almost a trillionaire. We can't like
Yes.
get people to stop like partying and like hanging out. Like people don't have discipline for a revolution.
I
Like
know that. I
that
know
fear
that.
is not that fear is as personal as it is, it just isn't founded in this country. I mean, if we were France, maybe, or if we were these other countries that actually like take to the fucking streets when they mean business and they
Right.
don't like austerity and like everything that's going on, that's one thing, but we don't do that here. So when she sees people marching in the streets and a lot of solidarity and people doing it all over the country and all over the world, that looks like revolution and that looks like a beautiful thing. But that's just that thing. That's not like what you went through. I
Right.
mean, like let's talk about this in like maybe 20 years. We went through the 80s in this country,
Right.
and there wasn't a revolution then. And
Right.
New York City was a fucking cesspool.
Yes.
I mean, our leaders were fucking killed, and there was no revolution then. Martin was killed. Malcolm was killed. Uh,
JFK was killed.
Bobby, the.
Bobby is the worst. The worst out of them all.
I mean, well, more than one Bobby, right? Was Bobby
Yes.
Seale killed as
Bobby
well?
Seals. And
But I was thinking of Bobby Seale, but yeah, Bobby Kennedy. Like, how many people were killed in the '60s? From presidents to the brothers of presidents to the next president to Malcolm and Martin and and there
yes.
wasn't a revolution then. So why would there be a revolution now? I mean, we just don't. I mean,
My
2020's been rough. I'll give you that. But I think
my
our idea
my
of revolution is revolutionary thinking. Like
well, no,
let's
no, no.
turn this around.
It's hard to explain when people think it's normal to use absolute violence against another person, and they're not kidding. They're not joking. and
Yeah,
they're
but
not
who are you
the
talking
right.
about though?
This time it'll be on the right. That it is coming.
Right, but no one on the panel today.
No, I'm not talking about the panel. This is not about the panel.
Well, yeah, the right's been like that for.
And living out here amongst the right wing of the right wing establishment,
Yeah.
you hear it. You hear it. You see nooses on trucks and shit like that. Shit you would never see in New York ever. So
Yeah.
I worry that the panel that was on there is too focused on New York and not focused enough on the rest of the country in order to affect the type of changes they want.
But see, this is my point though. Even in a climate where you have cuckoos out there, running around with nooses, we still have tons of rednecks in this country that are willing and want Medicare for all. In
Right.
a climate like that, you are obligated to push that. And if you're not, you're either stupid or you've been bought off by someone.
That's you're not wrong. You're not. I'm not arguing against you on that part. On that part.
Or both.
Or yeah. You can be multiple crazy. It's not. It's not an either or.
So I mean, if we want to avoid, revolutions, maybe we should give the people what they want and
That's exactly true.
For,
that's exactly true.
Fight for good change. I mean, God, when is going to be the next time that people are going to agree on something as big as Medicare for all? Look how long it took us to get here, and we're not going to jump on that.
I honestly, until, and this is going to sound horrible because I actually support the woman most of the time, until Pelosi steps down and another speaker comes up or another leader in the House comes up, because the House is the key to everything. It controls the purse strings, and it will make the budget for Medicare for all. It can either make it work or it can be a disaster. And we need a smart leader. And you know who I'm thinking that leader could be in time?
Who?
Is AOC.
Okay.
So with an actual person that believes heavily in the cause, pushing for that with smart leadership, you will get a lot farther than going third party, in my opinion.
So these people who end up being, the speakers of the House, how do they end up getting to that position? I mean, does the DNC, do they have to be darlings of the DNC?
No. To be honest, from what I know of her history, she was not the darling of the DNC for many years, because she was basically an independent woman and wasn't going to take any crap.
Okay.
So, but she's now one of the pillars of the DNC,
Right.
and she's, to be honest, every time Trump does something, she's countered pretty heavily. So I'm pleased with her performance, but I'm definitely looking forward to. Well, wait. Let me finish. I'm looking forward to her retirement and somebody a little more progressive stepping to the plate.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, and I'm open to, your opinion on this. The problem is, it's been said that Pelosi is great with the word that you use, performance.
Yes.
But that it's a performance. But when it comes to voting, she's voting for military expenditure increases.
She is what Joey calls a neoliberal.
Yeah.
She's a neoliberal centrist. Yeah. And I take exception to that because I'm a centrist. But I have a different view. I'm a centrist to the left for answers, and sometimes looks to the right for answers. But not. I lean more left.
Right.
She does not lean left. So that and as long as she has her, I have made this case over and over again. That position, the Speaker of the House, is the single most powerful elected position in our government. Controls the purse strings, controls the laws, controls the appointment of judges. It's just it's so strong.
So how does someone get to that position?
They all politics at that level is deadly, deadly,
Okay.
deadly, deadly.
Okay.
So they have to play the game. As much as they despise the game, they have to play the game.
That's going to be interesting. So, so I mean, for your AOC to get there, she's basically got to go against the people who have brought her to where she is now, and you see they're already turning against her for simply saying nice things about Biden. So that would be very interesting for her to find her way into that position.
My suggestion to her is to read a book called True Compass that was written by Ted Kennedy right before he died. Now, Ted Kennedy is no one to talk about moral substance, but he had a type of clarity on this issue that I've seen few senators of his power stature attain. And the idea of a true compass, meaning something that will always guide you no matter how dark times get or how confusing the waters are, is so powerful. The imagery is so powerful to me. I've tried to use it in every campaign since I read that book.
Okay.
I honestly believe that she has the true compass that is guiding her. It's not religion, it's not a philosophy, but it is a set of rules that she adheres to that she hasn't been done. She's been bright and hasn't said, this is what I adhere to.
Sure.
These are my rules, because then people will twist it.
Sure. So you think that she may have what it takes to navigate these murky
I think so.
waters
She's a bright woman. She's passionate and she's driven, which is all of those things are what drove notorious Ruth Ginsburg, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to her position, and she's a rebel just as much as AOC is. Excuse me.
Well, that'll be interesting. So what's going to happen is she's going to have to pick up one set of supporters and shed some of her more, how would you say,
passionate. Let's be kind.
Well, I'm always, well, not always. I'm kind, but there's a better word. It's a word for folks who are they are not going to move from their position.
Right.
It's folks who are like,
I would call those partisans.
Well, folks who are like strictly conscious hip hop who don't want a drop of dancing in their music at all.
Right.
There's like a word for those folks.
I don't know that word for the first time.
Okay, we'll find it, but yeah, she's gonna have to shed those kind of voters, which is, you know what, I think it's happening already because they're already turning on her, so that's fine. And those folks, purists, that's the word I'm looking for. Purists. She's gonna have to shed the purists who are kind of shedding themselves, and they're already getting pissed. And she's barely said a couple kind words about Biden.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
Hopefully, pick up a lot of other great supporters.
Yeah, in the middle of the road, which, by the way, is a fertile ground for her.
Right, and not even in the middle. I mean, I think there are a lot of people on the left, like myself, who
are looking for signs.
No, I'm not a purist, but I'm still but I still know where I reside, which is on the left.
I understand.
It's not that close to the center, but it's not going to give her shit for like being a realist and being
because you know the system. You know the system, Flav. Yeah. And the system is unforgiving for anything, especially what I kind of I would tell these people if I had a chance, the AOC shedding people, is that be kind for once in your fucking life. She's being respectful to an elder gentleman, even if that's all it is, and it's just talk. It's nice to hear once in a while instead of the fighting and the bitter infighting that we have to subject ourselves to.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head today. Like when I was talking about some of the issues that the Democrats, excuse me, that wasn't a Freudian slip, that the Democrats are not rallying behind. But you're like, look, we have a president who wants to commit voter fraud. Like we got to kind of like
Yeah,
get our ducks in a row first, right? Like
yeah, absolutely.
we kind of got to
We
fight
can
our
move.
battles
We can
first.
move Biden. I believe
Yeah,
that. I
yeah,
believe that we can move Biden to different areas and lead him around. I'm not saying he's a puppet. Far from it.
right.
He's going to be a representative, which is
Yeah,
what we wanted in the first place.
yeah, and fracturing our support on the left before the election isn't going to help us get anything done
No,
if we don't win.
no. Look, Mike. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't call you Mike. Flav. Uh, we have so much more in common, you and I, even though we're different politically. That we want the same things. We have different expressions of trying to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you and I are the last two voters left and we want different things, together we can do so much more instead of separate.
Right, and that's the big lesson that the left has to learn, that the right learned a long time ago.
Oh yes.
The right, I mean, the right. They're voting for their guy, they're voting for their woman, uh, all the time, and whatever differences they have, they'll either work it out legislatively or in local
Or they'll make
politics.
deals. They'll make quiet deals in the
Yeah,
back.
yeah, they'll do something, but they're gonna support their candidate. They're gonna come together, and there's not gonna be much bickering or
No.
splintering or factions coming against each other. There's just not on the right. There's just not.
Right.
So
No, I mean not right, but I'm just saying you're correct.
exactly, yeah. So hopefully we'll learn. Hopefully we'll learn enough to get our person elected.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I
And
know.
then the fight begins. The real fight begins.
And if if we're gonna turn on people like AOC, who's gonna be left,
No one. Because a
right?
purity test end up that you have, unless you have one person alone in a room, that person is finally the pure one. But
Not only that, but the kind of person who can survive a purity test. Let's keep it real. They're not always the best people who know how to reach across the aisle, or who know how to lead, or who know how to be diplomatic,
yeah, absolutely.
right?
Because their entire structure is based on their pride in their position, and
Yeah,
if their position is forced to move, then they lose their own pillars of
yeah,
of mental support.
yeah, for real. So I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for people who feel like they were disappointed by AOC, but again, who else is left? And like, what do you want? And what do you expect?
I'm a person that would rather have one thing come right than five things or 10 things in the air that are maybes. And
Right.
if I can get that one thing right and I can move on to the next one, I'm super happy.
Yeah.
So I'm a much simpler person to please in the
Yeah.
end. I have less demands or desires.
You
Uh,
know, some of it may be because we've just been let down so many times
that's
before,
true. We're
and
older. That's true.
and our leaders who we thought were a thing, you know, pulled 180s on like really important stuff that they stood for,
Sure.
and we've just seen it too many times. And maybe now we're falling victim to, our own cynicism brought on by what we've been through, and now it's
Yeah,
like,
years of neglect
yeah,
from the people that we supported.
and now we're trying to protect ourselves with purity tests, and those are bound to fail.
bound to fail and bound to drive people to the other side.
Right. Right.
In my opinion.
Yep.
But we've had a good discussion today, Flav.
Yeah, it was a good one. We had some fun stuff going on with the sharing of the screen as well.
Yeah, too bad we couldn't hear Matt. That was kind of terrible. When he came back, I
Oh,
could barely hear him.
Yeah, and the Bluetooth. It was ambitious to try to speak to us from the roof.
Yeah, I don't want him to because it's dangerous, right?
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I'll talk to you sometime this week.
Yeah, man. Take care.
Cool. All right, take care. Peace.
Peace.